But don't look in your rearview mirror, here comes number 8. He's a rocker and a roller and he sure knows how to shut 'em down. I guess he runs in the family hood until my daddy's back in town. Yeah, I guess he runs in the family hood until my daddy's back in town. Bad boy, stand on it, son.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Nasboys podcast. Here's a little fun fact for you. Wood Brothers Racing is the oldest organization in NASCAR history. It was started in 1950 by Glenn Wood. They have completed over 1,600 races and have earned 99 total wins as a team. Anyways, guys, I'm Savage NASCAR, host here on the podcast. I'm joined today by Mike FobFam 101.
What's up, guys? Hope you all are enjoying your off season.
Yes, and this is our first video since during the off season, I should say, and we have a little bit of a different video for y'all today. Today, we'll be grading drivers based off their season this year, be giving an overall grade and all that. Mike, do you want to explain to our viewers what we're going to be sort of doing in this video?
That is correct. So we are going to be grading drivers based off of how their season was. Christian, I'm not sure how you did your grades, but basically the way I did my grade is how they performed. Basically their entire stats throughout the season, and we are going to read them off by numerical order. So we're going to start off with the A's, obviously.
Alphabetical order, but yeah, I get it. All right, so A's, I think let's start with Anthony Alfredo and Dylan, right?
Yeah, Anthony Alfredo. Anthony Alfredo did not have a very good rookie season in the front row 38 car. He had 0 wins, 0 top 5s, 1 top 10, which I believe was at Martinsville, if I'm correct. I'm going to give him an F. That was a complete failure. He was completely rushed. He should have had a full-time season with RCR in the 21, but they completely rushed him, and I hope they don't do the same to Zane Smith. So 100% got to give him an F.
All right, so he had only 352 points this season, which is pretty bad. He finished 30th in the standings, like you mentioned, 0 wins, 0 poles, and all that. If I were to give an E for effort, I probably would just be a little nice. But yeah, definitely not a good season for him at all.
And then next up, we got Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon had a pretty solid season. He finished 17th in the standings. 0 wins, 1 top 5, and 8 top 10s. I am going to give Austin Dillon a C.
I have to agree with you. I mean, Dillon had some good races this year. He didn't get any wins like he did last year to get into the playoff, but he had some strong runs in some races. But, you know, when it comes to getting in the playoff, he just didn't really have a chance. I'd have to give him a C as well.
And then next up, we have Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman had a career year this year. I believe he got eliminated. When did he get eliminated? Round of 12, right?
He's 14, so he got eliminated in the first round.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. But I didn't know if this was normal point standings. But anyways, Alex Bowman, he had a career year, 40 wins, 8 top 5s, and 16 top 10s. I'm going to give him a B+. That's a pretty solid season for him.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm thinking about it. Bowman might have been in the second round, but now I'm thinking I honestly don't know at this point. But nevertheless, Alex Bowman had a great season. Definitely better than what his points placement was at 14. He had 4 wins, like you mentioned. He had a pole, and he had really good races this year. He was definitely, in my opinion, up there with Chase Elliott for the second best Hendrick car this year. I mean. Mm-hmm. He had really good wins. He had a little bit of rain. He had like a couple short track wins this season at Martinsville and Richmond, and I thought they definitely made an improvement compared to last season. So I have to give Bowman definitely like a B.
He also ruffled feathers with Denny Hamlin.
43 off the one, back to his rear bumper as the 48 continues to try to take the lead from the 11.
Oh!
The 11 around.
The 11 goes around, and the caution will come out. A restart.
How about that?
And this is going to get interesting.
Oh, boy.
Denny Hamlin not happy with the way Bowman raced him.
Smart, Denny. Be smart. Big picture here. Big picture.
His word to me, wow. So why the contact with Denny Hamlin? What happened there?
I just got loose in. I got in too deep, knocked him out of the way, and literally let him have the lead back. So for anybody that wants to think that I was trying to crash him, it obviously wasn't the case, considering I literally gave up the lead at Martinsville to give it back to him. So he's been on the other side of that. He's crashed guys here for wins. I hate doing it. Obviously, it's not, I don't want to crash somebody, and I just got in, got loose underneath him, and spun him out. So regardless, we get a freaking grandfather clock. It's pretty special. I've struggled here for a long time, so I was trying to get the flag, do a backwards victory lap. Mark Martin thinks that's cool, and Mark Martin's like my hero. So obviously, like I said, hate we wrecked the 11, but man, how about that for Chevrolet and Ally and everybody on this 48 team. 48 cars won here a bunch. It's cool to do it again.
So to clarify, there was or was not intent in your second contact with Denny?
No, I just got loose underneath him. Like, I'm not trying to drive under there and crash the guy. I hadn't run into him. I caught him. I got under him fair, under him clean, and I just got sideways underneath him and spun him out. So hate to do that, obviously unintentional, but part of short track racing.
As you're celebrating, he pulls up to you. What was your reaction to that?
Man, I wasn't going to get into any, this isn't Bowman Gray Stadium, right? This is the Cup Series, so as much as we could have made the highlight reel, we might climb the fence here because I want to see my engine tuner do it. The fence might come down, but yeah, it's one of those deals.
All right, for the 48 team, a huge win here at Martinsville, so meaningful to Hendrick Motorsports. Dylan Welch has Denny Hamlin.
And Denny, I know obviously you're not happy with what happened, but what is your take on the contact down there?
He's just a hack. He's just an absolute hack. He gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week, and just, you know, he's terrible. He's just terrible, and he sees one opportunity and he takes it. But obviously, he's got the fastest car every week and he runs 10th. So he didn't want to race us there. We had a good clean race. I moved up as high as I could on the racetrack to give him all the room I could, and he still can't drive.
To be that close with the day you guys had, to come from the back, how much more frustrating does that make it to get cleaned out, in your opinion, there at the very end?
I didn't hear what you said.
To have the day you guys had coming from the back like you did, does that make it worse at the end?
No, I mean, we got in, we did what we had to do, but like I just wanted to race there at the end, and just, he's just terrible.
Thanks, Denny.
Yes, for sure. We can't forget that moment.
All right, next up, Eric Amarola. Eric Amarola had another kind of terrible year, I guess you could say. I'm trying to find him right now in the points standings. Okay, here we go. He had 1 win, 2 top 5s, and 5 top 10s. Not a terrible season. It's kind of a down year, but it's not as bad. I will give Eric a C+, C minus, actually, excuse me.
Eric Amarola, he started off the season really bad. I mean, you say that for all of Stewart-Haas racing. He just started off the season not good at all. And towards the end of the season, he got a little better. He had that win at Loudon. But nevertheless, it wasn't a great year for the 10 team. They had a strong run at Phoenix at the end. But, just definitely, for me, it'd be like a C minus or a D for Eric.
Now, next up, we got Bubba Wallace. Bubba, he had high expectations for him. A lot of people were saying he was going to get at least 2 wins. He did get a win at the rain short in Talladega. So that's pretty impressive, you could say. But other than that, it was somewhat, some people could say it's a disappointing season, and some people like myself could say it's expected. He was not really known to be the best driver. He was a driver known to give you some top 10s, top 20s here and there. And that's exactly what he did for 23XI. Not to mention 23XI is a newer team, and I guess they're trying to still figure it out with the next-gen car. Bubba's stats this season were 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 3 top 10s. That's good enough for me to give him a C+.
I have to agree with you, Mike. Bubba Walsh, going into the season, new team and all that, I wasn't expecting him to finish top 25 in the standings. He ended up finishing 21st in the standings, and he got a win at Talladega. I was there. It was really cool to be there, and very happy that he finally got a win. But nevertheless, he had some good runs this year, but there were some races where he was just mid-pack, just, lots of laps down, or he just got taken out of wrecks that wasn't his fault. And then there was a couple times where he got into some little incidents that were his fault. But Bubba Walsh, definitely, I would have to give him a C+ as well.
And then next up is Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski kind of had a down year from last year. Really, most of Ford did. Brad Keselowski had, hold on, I'm trying to find him in the standings. My apologies. Here he is. 1 win, 10 top 5s, and 17 top 10s. Good enough for me to give him a B.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski, I think he was good. I had him in my championship 4. And, he's going to be a team owner with Roush Fenway next year. So definitely in a very interesting move, I would say. And we kind of talked about this before. It's just, I didn't really understand the move. I mean, it is cool for him, but it's just for his career wise, I just don't think it's a good idea. But nevertheless, he had some really good races this year, but towards the end of the season, it just kind of faded away. I felt like he had some chances to win some races like Talladega, but couldn't come up with it there.
Yeah.
I would have to give him like a B-. I mean, it could have been better if he had won some more in the playoffs, if he had gotten up there towards the front in the playoff races, it would be a better rating. But for me, I'd have to give him a B-.
Okay, quick intermission before we get to the next driver. Christian, I like that poster, but why is there a fake mustache on Jeff Gordon?
Yeah, so I got this poster back when I was around, I'm going to say 14 or 15. Yeah, I was somewhere around 14, 15, or 13. And I had like a fake mustache somewhere in like a craft box, and I just decided to put it on Jeff Gordon's face. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to kind of give y'all a little bit of a different background for this video.
Well, it's interesting. But yes.
And Dale Jr.'s on there too.
Yes. Moving on to the next driver, we got Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott had a pretty solid season. Like you were saying, probably the best or the second best Hendrick car of the season. Made it to the Final 4. He had 2 wins, 15 top 5s, and 21 top 10s. I'm going to give him an A-.
Chase Elliott had a pretty good season. He won the championship in 2020, and he's looking to defend his title. He made it to the championship 4, but didn't win the championship. He had really good runs this year. He had a little bit of a winning streak at one point. He won a lot of races for Hendrick when Hendrick went on their run there in the early summer. And he finished 3rd in average running position. He averaged 9.5 was his average finish.
Interesting.
He had really good season, man. It wasn't like a slump like we've seen with some drivers after they win a championship the next season. They usually sometimes slump, but for Elliott, that was not the case. He also ranked 3rd in most laps led this year with 952, and he also had the most quality passes with 2,198. So I have to give Chase Elliott an A and like a driver rating of A or A+.
Interesting. Here's the other Chase Briscoe. Very disappointing rookie season. I know a lot of people were expecting him to win and do much better than he was, and they were saying he was the future of SHR, but if it's anything like this year, he is not the future of SHR. He had 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 3 top 10s. He did have a couple of good runs, such as at the road courses like the Indy road courses, Road America, which we expected him to have good runs. I got to give him a D-.
I feel like you're being a little too harsh on my boy Chase Briscoe. I will say, it's really cool. I got the flag. I've been usually putting it here for almost every episode. But Chase Briscoe, I will say that a lot of people had very high expectations for him this season, and he didn't live up to those. But he did have some chances to win races this year, especially as you mentioned the Indianapolis road course, and he had some strong runs on the road courses. But he also seemed to be doing pretty well. I thought he did really good. Darlington got taken out, but yeah, he had
Song, different verse.
Oh, we got a crash on it, Marty. Turns 3 and 4.
Chase Briscoe on the 14 into the wall. Backed it in there. You see the damage to the left rear.
He sees it. He senses the left rear tire's flat. He senses it and lifts real early. So there was some contact or something that has damaged the side skirt on that car. And somehow or another, either the contact or the damage has flattened that left rear tire. He's
a lot of crashes this year, too. Not as much as some other guys, but it could have been better for him. But, I think he'll have a better season next year. So I will give him a rating of a D.
Next up, we got Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell had a pretty solid season, scoring his first win, and also had some other chances to get some wins at this season, such as at New Hampshire. His stats were 1 win, 7 top 5s, and 16 top 10s. I am going to give him a B-.
Christopher Bell finished 12th in the standings this year. He actually had the second most green flag passes this year with 3,610. And surprisingly, Chase Briscoe was number 4 on that list with most green flag passes with 3,591. But, Christopher Bell, he started off the season great with the win of the Daytona road course. And he seemed to be up front in a lot of races, especially not the road courses, but the short tracks. He did pretty well at Bristol, and he did pretty well at Martinsville this year. So definitely big move to have Bell in that 20 car. Definitely did better than Eric Jones when he was in the 20. So, I have to give Bell a B.
And then next up, we got Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher, he impressed. He did lead some laps at Kansas. He could have won if it wasn't for that last caution with the tire. He had a much better season. 0 wins, 1 top 5, and 8 top 10s. I'll give Chris Buescher a C.
Chris Buescher didn't seem to do a whole lot, in my opinion, this year. Didn't really finish good in the standings, too. If I'm correct, he was like 19th in the standings. Hold on a second. I had it here in my notes. Yes, 19th in the standings. So I feel like Buescher could have had some more top 10s here and there. But, he is on a team that has been struggling the past 2 seasons, so it doesn't surprise me for him to not do that good. So I feel like if he was in better equipment, he would be in the playoffs, but that's just my opinion. I would have to give him a D-.
And then next up, we got Cole Custer. Cole Custer did not have a good season. I don't know if it was a sophomore slump or just all of SHR was really struggling, but he had 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 2 top 10s. That I will give him a D, maybe a D-. That just not that good of a season for him.
Well, I'm going to give him an F, and, he finished 26th in the standings. That's a huge change compared to last year where he made the playoffs. And he, the Stuart Haas Racing did struggle this past season, just not doing too well, and he couldn't seem to get out of the wall. He wrecked multiple times this year. I remember him wrecking a couple times on super speedways and at Darlington, and he just struggled, man. So unfortunately, I thought he was going to have a really good season this year coming in. I predicted him to be in the playoffs before the season started. But he ended up coming home 26th in standings, so I have to give him an F.
And then next up, we got Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie was hyping Spire up, saying this is the best equipment that I've ever driven in. and unfortunately did not do very much with it. He had 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and only 1 top 10. I'm going to give Corey LaJoie an F.
Man, I mean, considering the equipment Spire has and all that, I'll give him an E for effort. But he didn't do too good this year. He finished 29th. To end out the season, he had that spin at Phoenix. So
why did we do
got a spin. Turn 3 and 4, the 747 go around. LaJoie hard into the wall.
And the 5 had just cleared them.
LaJoie goes into the corner. He gives McDowell a little bit of room. I don't know that the 40.
Yeah, he had some races where it seemed like he would do good, but then he just faded towards the end. I'd have to give him an E for effort.
And then next up, we got Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin was very consistent. His performance dipped in regards to wins. He only had 2 wins this season, but his consistency was off the charts. He had 19 top 5s and 25 top 10s, which is all one off of Larson. So that's very impressive. I would give him an A+, but I'm going to go with an A because he did not win the championship.
Yeah, Dennis, he had a great statistical season. I mean, he had the most laps run by any driver. He had the best average running position with 7.4. He led a lot of laps. His average rating was 109.4, which is second most behind Larson. And let me go to the laps led. Yeah, he led 1,502 laps, which is pretty crazy. But Hamlin, he had a great year. I will say he, once again, just can't seem to get that championship he's been trying to get for a long time. And there's Mike doing the choke sign. But yeah, I feel like his emotions got the best of him at Martinsville. And, I don't know, he just let a lot of things get to his head. He had a lot of stuff, controversies going on this season. And he did the best he could. I mean, he bounced back after the alleged incident with his ex-girlfriend. He won at Darlington, but nevertheless, I feel like he just got a lot more hate this year from NASCAR fans than before. But he definitely had an A season, I would say.
And then next up, we got Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez on a new team similar to Bubba Wallace, Trackhouse. And Trackhouse is expanding to Chip Ganassi, buying them out. He had a decent season. He really shocked me. Yes, there were points where, it was typical Suarez, but at the same time, there was points where he looked like he improved a ton. He had 0 wins, 1 top 5, and 4 top 10s, which is much better than some of his seasons. That's good enough for me to give him a C.
I feel like it's a little too high personally. I mean, Suarez did do much better than I thought he would, but he still finished 25th in the standings, which is pretty low. But considering the equipment he was in, that's not too bad. He started off the season with a great run in the Daytona 500. He was up front for a good bit in that race. And he had some races where he was up in the top 10. If I'm correct, he was running pretty decent in the Coke 600 too. But he just couldn't seem to get a lot of consistent finishes, and he didn't do well in points. There's a couple races right before the playoffs where he just got into a lot of, incidents, mechanical issues, or just wrecks.
Yeah. Where he really showed for me was Bristol Dirt.
Yeah, I mean, he did pretty decent on Bristol Dirt for sure. I mean, he was up there though. So I would have to give Suarez like a D or a D-.
Interesting. Next up, we got Eric Jones. Eric Jones moved to RPM after being cut from the 20 car. He had a decent season. He did really well at Martinsville. That's really what caught my eye. But after reading his stats, he had 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and 6 top 10s. That's good enough for me to give him a C+ because he did outperform the equipment, but at the same time, not to the level that a lot of people were expecting.
Yeah, I mean, he did really good, I would say, towards the end of the season, but he struggled a lot in some races where he would just lose a lot of laps. He had some mechanical issues. He had a lot of tire failures. It wasn't a great season for Richard Petty Motorsports, I'll say. He ended up finishing 24th in the standings. I wasn't too impressed by his performance this season, so I'd have to give him like a D minus.
Next up, we got Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch had a decent season. He had a normal season, bounced back a little bit from last year. Let me see if I can find him. There he is. All right. 2 wins, 14 top 5s, and 22 top 10s. He got fined as well for saying the R word or the Haley Deegan word. I will give Kyle Busch an A.
I feel like giving Kyle Busch an A is a little too much, but he did have a good season, I'll say. Could have been better. But he's been struggling last 2 seasons in regarding the playoffs and getting wins. You would think he'd been averaging like 4 wins a season before the last season, and then this year he'd been averaging like 4 or 5 wins a season. But his performance has slowly gone downhill, so it's starting to be like, are we seeing a little bit of a downfall for Kyle Busch? Will he bounce back again? I don't know, but Kyle Busch, I have to give him at least a B minus.
There were also people who were speculating his retirement because he said something over the radio saying like, this is our last time working together. I don't know if it was his crew or if he's going to retire. So we'll see what goes on with that. We will have that news when it gets published.
I do not think that he's retiring. I think he's still a little young for that. I think he still wants to race, but that tweet was quite odd.
Yeah, I don't think he's retiring either. I'd be very shocked if he did. Next up, we got Joey Logano. I kind of messed that up, but nevertheless, Joey Logano, he had a decent season. At some points, he looked like he was having a typical Logano season, but also dipped in performance in terms of wins. Usually he gets about 3 to 5 wins a season, and this one only having 1. He hadn't won on asphalt in, I believe, like 360 days or something like that. I'm not sure of the exact number, but let's just say it was an entire year since his last win on asphalt. He did come very close a couple of times, Daytona both times, Daytona road course, and there was a couple other races that I can't really think of. Oh, Phoenix, the first one. But yeah, Joey Logano had a decent season. He had 1 win, 10 top 5s, and 19 top 10s. I'll give him a B+.
Mike, you're being a little too kind on your driver, I'll say. I will think that it is a little bit of bias there with your rating, but I'm not hating or nothing. Don't get me wrong. Okay, so Joey Logano, he had a different performance this year. I noticed that with Team Penske, there were some points where Team Penske just wasn't doing good. I did pick him to win at Bristol Dirt, and he did, and that was a great race, in my opinion. Logano, I feel like he was going to get 3 wins this year, but he didn't. He came close to Talladega. He had some good races, like you had already mentioned. But I'm surprised he got 8th in the standings over Kyle Busch, who was 9th. I thought Kyle Busch should have been up in the standings more than him. Same thing with Bowman. But because the playoff system, that's how the things work. So personally, I would give Joey Logano a B-. I feel like, his season was a little disappointing. If not a B-, a C+.
I wouldn't give him a C, but a B- is valid. All right, next up, we got Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch had a typical season, getting 1 win at Atlanta. Other than that, he was pretty bad, but same with Ross Chastain, but we'll get into Ross Chastain later. He was pretty bad at the start of the season. Then I guess Chip complained to Hendrick, like, hey, why are our engines so bad? And they fixed it completely, and Ross and Kurt moved up their performance to what it should be. Kurt Busch had 1 win, 6 top 5s, and 14 top 10s. I will give Kurt Busch a B.
I feel like Kurt Busch had a C+ season. He did get the win at Atlanta, but yeah, as you mentioned, there's just some races where he just didn't do good. He got taken out a couple of times too.
Yeah.
But Chip Ganassi Racing wasn't that great this year, I'll say. Could have been better. But, it's also sad to see that this is their last season, pretty unfortunate. They've been in NASCAR for a long time, and now, they got bought out. So Kurt Busch going to 23XI next year. Oof, I don't think it's going to get better for him.
I think he'll do decent. I think he'll still have his usual one win and somewhat consistency, but I don't think he's going to be a championship contender. I think he's going to stay right where he's at. Next up, we got Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell had a very strong start to the season, obviously winning the Daytona 500, and then stayed consistent for a couple of races. And then as the second half of the season progressed, his performance started dipping back to the way it was. And obviously he did not do that great in the playoffs. He had one win, 2 top 5s, and 5 top 10s. I'm probably being a little nice here, but I'll give Michael McDowell a B- because he did outperform his equipment to an extent.
I have to agree with you, Mike. I completely agree with you on all your points with this one. I won't give him a B-, but I'll give him a C+. I have to agree with you on what you said. I think we missed Kevin Harvick in the case.
Oh yes, how could I forget Kevin Harvick? My apologies.
It's cool.
But yeah, Kevin Harvick is up next. He had a very shocking season. I don't think anybody expected him to have this. Was it a championship hangover, even though he didn't win the championship? No one really
should have last year if you're going by old points, not playoffs. But
right, he had no wins, 10 top 5s, and 24 top 10s. He was definitely the bright spot of SHR, finishing 5th in the points. I'll give him a B.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have any poles either, but then again, they don't do qualifying anymore like they used to. Kevin Harvick, he didn't have a good season, man. I thought he was going to at least get 4 wins, so it was disappointing. So because of that reason, I had to lower his rating, but hopefully we'll see him bounce back. This is like the first year in like at least 6 seasons or so that he hasn't won a race. So a little disappointing there. Stewart-Haas Racing struggled, and I have to give him because of, not being able to get a win. He did finish 5th in the points. That does help a little bit, but I have to give him at least a C+ or a B-.
I also forgot about Josh Bilicki. Now, Josh Bilicki, he did run all 36 races, but did not score any points. A lot of people were saying that he was probably the best Rick Ware driver. I don't know really if you could say he is the best Rick Ware driver, but he did not do too terrible, I guess. He did score top 10 for them, I believe, if I read his stat correctly. Let me see if I can find him. There he is. Yes, he did score top 10. No wins, no top 5s, and then 1 top 10. He was one of the only Rick Ware cars, if not the only Rick Ware car, to get out of that crash at the Coke 400.
Looks like he's a little bit out of shape. Yep. Down the racetrack in front of his teammates. Joey Gase up the racetrack. Puts Cody in the fence. Just an unfortunate series of accidents there for all 3 of those Rick Ware racing cars.
Yeah, right in front of his teammates. Nowhere for them to go. As you said, they had just got.
So I will give Josh Bilicki an F still because his stats were just utterly terrible.
Yeah, they were pretty bad. I mean, I'm looking at stats right now. He finished, according to this, it says he finished 49th in points, which was worse than Derek Cope. Even though Derek Cope ran less races for sure, and even less than David Reagan too.
Wow.
I don't know if it's okay. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on because some of these stats don't look correct on here. Because there's some names I never heard of. But yeah, Bilicki definitely an F.
And then next up, we have Matt DiBenedetto. Matt DiBenedetto had a typical season. He's definitely one of the most overrated drivers in NASCAR, in my opinion. His stats, he was the second. He was 18th. I was going to say he was the second best of the rest, Austin Dillon being the best of the rest. He had no wins, 3 top 5s, and 9 top 10s. Not a terrible season. Typical Matt DiBenedetto season, C+.
Yeah, I really was hoping he would finally get his first win this year, but I was disappointed. He didn't really have a good chance at a win this year. I mean, he was up there in the top 10, some races, top 5s, but yeah, I just saw a little bit of a loss in performance this year, I'll say. So I have to give him a C or a D.
And then next up, we have Quinn Houff. Obviously, Quinn sucks. I'm glad that he's leaving.
Jeez.
He had no stats. He only raced 36 races. No wins, no top 5s, no top 10s, nothing like that. F.
Well, I mean, I don't hate the guy like some probably NASCAR fans do, but it's kind of sad. He just got thrown in there with no experience. He didn't really get much Xfinity, experience either, and you expect him to do better. But I didn't think he was going to. I feel like them moving him to StarCom was a little too fast too early, and you saw what happened. Just not good at all performance. 31st in the standings. He wrecked a lot this year too. So yeah, I have to give him an F, of course.
And then next up, we have Ricky Stenhouse Jr., or some affectionately call him Stankhouse.
I wouldn't say Stankhouse.
I just felt like it.
Did he get engaged?
Go ahead.
I saw post on something that he got engaged or something like that.
Yes, he did get engaged. A lot of engagements and drivers having babies.
Yes, for sure.
Ricky Stenhouse had a typical season. No wins, 1 top 5, 2 top 10s. I'm going to give him a D.
One thing that will surprise you, he actually had the most green flag passes out of everybody this year. 3,658. And Christopher Bell was second with 3,610. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr., it ain't all bad for him. But, he had an ass season, 22nd in the standings. Had to give him a D.
And then next up, we got Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney had a breakout season. First season in his career where he's won multiple races. He finished 7th in the standings. He had 3 wins, 11 top 5s, and 20 top 10s. He was definitely the bright spot for Penske this season. I'm going to give him an A.
Yeah, I got bamboozled by him at the beginning of the year predictions because last year I predicted that he would do well. He would go to the round of 8. And then last year he didn't do that. He didn't do good at all. And then this year, because of what he did last year, I was like, oh, well, he's not going to make it to the round of 12. And here he is. He wins 3 races this year. I am happy for him. He's one of my favorite drivers. So, pretty cool to see him 7 in the standings with 3 wins. I have to definitely give him an A. Definitely a big bounce back from last season.
And then next up, we have Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece had a decent season. However, he is losing his ride, I believe. In my personal opinion, I think he should go back down to either Xfinity or Trucks because that's really where he's made for. Let's see if I can find him. There he is. No wins, 1 top 5, impressive, and 4 top 10s. I'll give Ryan Preece a C.
I have to give him why would you give him a C?
He outperformed his equipment for the most part.
I have to give him an E for effort. He didn't do good at all. That's all I have to really say. 27 standings,
I mean, it wasn't as bad as last year. He was up there at points.
Well, I mean, he also about flipped last year at Kansas. So you remember that? That was a big wreck.
He's going to be able to push that Atlanta car back out front. More wrecking.
And around goes the 95 into the 37.
Hard hit.
Into the wall.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, it's awful.
Ryan Preece in the 37.
And then I believe this is the last one. Ryan, sorry?
I was going to say, speaking of wrecking, Ryan Newman's next.
Okay, next up, Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman, I don't know if he's rattled or I'm not sure, but Ryan Newman did not have that great of a season. No wins, 2 top 5s, and 5 top 10s. Not terrible. I'll give him a C.
Newman, he struggled this year. You could just tell that he wasn't doing well with the equipment he had. He was just slow compared to everyone else. He was getting lapped a lot. He struggled this year for sure. It's pretty sad to see, because, I remember when I was first starting watching NASCAR, he was like one of the top drivers. He was up there and
Yeah.
top 10 almost every race. He was winning a lot. And over the past like 4 seasons, it's just been downhill for him. But I don't know what his plans are for next season. There's been rumors of him maybe retiring, but he hasn't said he was going to. So
I think he
it's
should
him.
either go to the 38 or just retire in general.
I think he'll probably end up. I think my rating for him will be like an E.
E? All right. And how could I forget? How could I forget? I forgot the top 2 drivers. I am stupid and I am sorry. Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson, we already know. He had the best season out of everybody. He was the class of the field. It was very expected for him, or not very expected. It was not expected for him to dominate this much. I thought he would get maybe 2 to 3 wins, but no. He ended up being the class of the field. 10 wins, more than Harvick, 20 top 5s, and 26 top 10s. A+ automatically.
Yeah, for sure. Kyle Larson, best driver of the year, definitely deserved the championship. I mean, he had the 112 driver rating. He led the most laps with 2,581, which is the most laps led in a season since Jeff Gordon did in 2001. He just had a really impressive season this year. Definitely an A+. And then the other one I think we're leaving out is we left out William Byron and Martin Truex Jr.
Martin Truex is next, and William Byron is coming up. Martin Truex is next, like I just said. He had 4 wins, 13 top 5s, and 20 top 10s. Not a terrible season for Martin Truex. He did finish second. He was very close to winning the championship, but Larson got him with that amazing pit stop. I will give Martin Truex an A.
Yeah, Truex Jr., I feel like he deserves an A. I have to agree with you on that. He had 4 wins. He did really well on short tracks this year. He got into championship 4 after his it was a very risky call what he did in Martinsville. Even though he hit the wall, he stayed out there and fought his way into that championship 4. He had wins at Richmond too, and the spring Martinsville race. I think Truex Jr. definitely deserves an A rating.
And then next up, Ross Chastain. Now, Ross Chastain, similar to Kurt Busch, he did not have the best start to the season. And then I think Chip Ganassi complained like, hey, why are your engines so good and ours suck? And then they fixed it, and Ross Chastain really woke up. He started being way more consistent and being up front at tracks that you would not expect, such as Nashville, Darlington, those types of tracks. He had 0 wins, 3 top 5s, and 8 top 10s. I'll give him a C. And I think Ross Chastain will get a win this season or this coming season.
I think Chastain got like second in the first Kansas race, but I don't remember if that's correct. But he did have some good races, like you said, up towards the front. I think he got second twice this year. But I have to give him definitely like a B- or a C. I'll say it definitely a little bit of an improvement. I liked seeing him in the 42 car. I thought the 42 car is really cool. You know, him driving McDonald's and the Clover car.
Yeah.
And I also thought of another driver we haven't mentioned other than William Byron. We also haven't mentioned James Davison and Tyler Reddick.
James Davidson was not full time, so I did not think about mentioning him. But Tyler Reddick will be up next. Tyler Reddick is really carrying RCR. His back must be hurting. I hope his back gets some rest after that. Give that guy a nice massage. Yeah, in all seriousness though, he did really have a good season. I think he's another guy that will also get a win next season. He had 0 wins, 3 top 5s, and 16 top 10s. Like I said, very impressive in RCR equipment. B+.
Yeah, I predicted he would get a win this year, but he didn't. He did have a pole this year, finished 13th in the standings. He did better than I thought he would. You know, I have to give him a B- or a C+.
And then I believe this will be the last driver, William Byron. William Byron had a breakout season, really shut a lot of people, including myself, up. He did get a win at Homestead and was close a couple of other times, but I think held back because it was in the playoffs and Larson was in the lead and he needed all those points that he could. to get to the championship for, or just William Byron just did not really get that lucky, whatever you want to call it. He had 1 win, 12 top 5s, and 20 top 10s. I'll give William Byron a B+.
And, he also had 2 poles and finished 10th in the standings. I remember the Daytona 500. I actually picked him to win, and he wrecked in that big one with like lap 13.
Oh, no. Almirola Bowman.
Oh, the 24's on his side. Remember what I said, Clint, about 21 cars? I don't know if we got there, but man, that took out a lot of race cars and a lot of great race cars in there.
I know Eric Almirola was one of the front ones up front, so anytime that happens up front, you're going to take out a lot of them.
But the way he started off the season, winning at Homestead and how well he did at the Daytona Road Course, I thought he was going to get at least 3 wins this year. But nevertheless, he had a lot of strong runs. He did really good on the short tracks. He did really good at Martinsville, Richmond too, Dover, when Hendrick had the 1, 2, 3, 4 finish. But yeah, I think he definitely had a B season.
Yeah, and I believe that will conclude it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow our socials, and we will see you guys in the next bonus episode. Peace.
See y'all.